Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 141 of the Hoots podcast. Do us good brothers a good favor. Make sure to hit the like button. Make sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Anchor. By the way, the show is brought to you by Anchor.fm. If you want to start your own podcast and monetize it and distribute your podcasts to different platforms, check out Anchor.fm. /start. It's a really cool website. Like, I started a couple weeks ago thanks to a record from my good friend G-Rod, and it's a cool site. Like, if you want to do podcasts like this, or you want to talk about music, sports, whatever, any type of podcast you want to do, you can sign up for free. They don't charge you anything. It's a really cool place to get your name out there, especially if you're a young broadcaster. Welcome to the program, everybody. My name is Josh Lopez, but you can call me Joshie if you want. I'm at Twitter and Instagram at Notorious. No, scratch that. I know it's Throwback Thursday, but my actual
remix.
Yes, sir, the remix. At the Hoots Podcast, Twitter and Instagram at the Hoots Podcast. I am alongside the one and only Adam Daley. What's going on, my man?
Josh, what's going on, brother? Not enjoying this week. Screw this. It's cold. It's cold. It's bitter cold. I don't care any of you. It's people are like, oh, it's not that bad. Fuck you.
It's all types of cold.
This sucks. Especially where you're at. My boys up in Minnesota. Like, I couldn't imagine what you guys are feeling. So it can be worse. That's why I'm not complaining. That bad.
Yeah, it's bowling shoe ugly out here in the city of wind. Yeah, it's the city of wind.
What did it hit? Like negative 40 something, wasn't it?
Are you sure it's not negative 80 by now?
No, didn't you guys hit something crazy like negative 60 or something with the wind chill?
Yeah, so basically we're at negative 30 degrees yesterday with a wind chill at negative 55 from the last time I checked the news. Right. Yeah, Fahrenheit. I don't know what the dew point is, at this point I really don't care.
Yeah, I don't.
It's cold out there.
You pay attention to the dew point. You're a little too into the weather. Dude, this is crazy cold though. And here's the funny thing about it. I'm not trying to get on a bully pulpit, but it's funny how quickly our climate is going to change right back though. It's supposed to be like 55 degrees in Pittsburgh by Sunday, or like damn near 60.
I can't believe I would say this.
It's insane.
Pittsburgh is the East Coast Chicago because it's supposed to be 50 on Sunday here as well.
This is the coldest it's been in decades. In my wife's life. I mean, she didn't live up here her whole life. She's, obviously she's from North Carolina, but this is the coldest it's ever been in, a lot of my family members' lives. Not mine because I'm just an old shit. But, yeah, man, this has been bitter, man. Especially when you get older and your bones start to ache and you already can't walk good anyway,
Right.
Yeah.
By the way, I know there's a song out there that gets people on their nerves, but honestly, I really don't care. Baby, it's fucking cold outside. God damn, it's cold outside.
Yeah, listen, I know some people get sensitive about that song, but
yeah,
if you shake your ass to Lil Jon, you can't complain about Baby It's Cold Outside. Just let's keep it real here, people.
Yeah, or the old Gwen Stefani song, My Humps. No, that's Black Eyed Peas, actually. That's not her soul. Fergie, they're both the same, whatever. You get my point.
Yeah, you got me.
Basically.
That shit is bananas. BANANAS. I'll exit stage left now.
Yeah, folks, make sure to subscribe to the podcast every Thursday on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, YouTube, and Spotify. We're having some fun. We're having a good time talking about professional wrestling. We sprinkle in some other light topics or whatever's flowing through our head throughout the week. And there's been a lot of wrestling that we've intaked personally, and you have the listener intake over the last 4 to 5 days. I was talking about this a little bit before we started recording the show today. I think I transcribed around 40 to 45 wrestling matches between 6 shows in the last 4 to 5 days, and I have a lot of wrestling thoughts that have been stuck in my head while watching these shows and doing the articles for them, and we'll get into that, but one thing I want to make sure before we get to the ingredient of Royal Rumble weekend, I want to let you guys know that we're not going to be breaking on every single match from both pay-per-views this weekend and Raw and SmackDown. We want to take this show in a little bit of just getting our general thoughts on the shows as a whole throughout the weekend, and just we have some other things coming out of the Royal Rumble weekend that we want to touch on in the beginning, and we have our regular seasonally segment where we talk about the top 5 things of professional wrestling coming from the end of winter to here we are in the beginning of 2019. We're going to be doing that towards the end of the show, and who knows, maybe we'll talk about the Super Bowl at the end. But brother, you were going to say something?
Well, I was trying to make sure that my dog here, she was getting a little rowdy on me. Hence the name Piper, I guess. But no, I was going to say something because I wanted to, before we actually get into the wrestling talk, because I'm glad, I don't have the testicular fortitude in me to break down a show match by match anymore. It's not, who the hell are we to try and do that? Let's get over ourselves, please. But I did want to bring this up because before we segue into the actual wrestling talk, every once in a while we got something fun that's on the outside realm where it's fun to bring into this show just to get opinions about. So I'd like to get your opinion on this, Josh, and I want to get the opinion of, everyone out there, like comment underneath stuff, whatever, however you guys communicate now, however all you young bucks communicate. But so you, Josh, we kind of briefly talked about this, or maybe I didn't tell you about this before. Maybe I said this before, but there's a story coming out of Pittsburgh right now that KDKA, one of our local affiliates here, it's the CBS local affiliate in Pittsburgh. It's a fantastic channel. I love KDKA and like what they do for the community around here. But they fired an employee this week who put up a lower third for when they were talking about the Super Bowl. So they were going through and talking about the Super Bowl, setting up Rams, Patriots, the whole deal. And so they cut to the different scenes from the first night. I don't know what is it, like press night or whatever, all the things that they have. And there was a picture of Brady with a microphone, and it said Tom Brady. And you know how it will always have like the player's name, then underneath it will be like New England Patriots quarterback or whatever. It said known cheater. So it goes viral. The dude gets fired. Now, I don't even think the Patriots give a shit. I actually think like they were laughing about it. Like, and I don't know. So, Josh, I want to ask you because this is kind of like where we're at now. That this is, and I don't know. Obviously, KDK didn't know that he was going to do that. I don't think. But are we taking life too serious, or do people kind of need to scale back a little bit, or is it somewhere in between? Because like, admittedly, come on, this is pretty crazy now that we're getting to a point where Pittsburgh, who should really have no care in this other than the fact that Tom Brady's about to have as many Super Bowls as you. Oh, wait, did I say that? Sorry. But you know what I mean? No, but it's fun banter. But at the same time, it's fun banter. So it's like, I don't mind it, but I don't know, man. Like, what's your opinion on it? What's your thoughts? And like, especially this dude losing his job like almost that day. Thankfully, he's been. I guess I saw an interview with him. He's been offered plenty of other jobs. He's getting enough exposure out of this that was the best mistake he's ever made in his life. And he's going out graciously too. Like he's thanking KDKA like up and down, talking about how he worked with great people there. So he's doing all the right things. But Josh, what is that something that are we? Is this something we're too oversensitive about? Do you think the network jumped the gun a little bit too early before they even realized that nobody gave a shit? Do people care? Is it, give me your overall thoughts on it.
Well, let's hit on the Brady topic first, because the lower third said don't cheater. Whoever producer put that in the lower third never said specifically a no football cheater. Did they mention the actress or his former wife that he cheated on?
Eek. I didn't think about that. Wow, that went in a totally different direction, but yeah.
Like, sometimes these program directors and floor managers really don't pay attention and do the homework they do when they see something like this, where they just go off ratchet. Oh, you can't do this. Oh, this is going to affect our partnerships and our other local ABC affiliates in different markets, I don't know if they have an ABC in Boston. I could be wrong, but...
the Boston affiliates thought it was hysterical, which is, but maybe CBS does carry AFC games. AFC, Steelers are AFC, Patriots are AFC.
Yeah. There's a lot of stroking to you-know-what when it comes to these networks and who they're friends with and yada yada, who you can't offend. But again, I want to bring the point, like, they don't mention anything about Brady being the cheater before he got with Giselle. but we're just gonna
Yikes.
talk about him being the football cheater.
I'm staying mum on that scenario. Real quick before you continue your point, he was going to put, instead of known cheater, he said that he toyed with the idea of putting Giselle's husband. He was going to say Tom Brady, Giselle's husband, is what I was going to say. So all those things, go ahead, continue your point.
Yeah. Lower thirds are all subjective, wherever you want to put into it. I guess whoever saw this particular the segment got in their feelings. They got upset about it. I'm all for trolling humor. I'm all for it. Like, even if it's not overly offensive or you're crossing the line, like it's free game. If you want to say, "Oh, here's Michael Jordan, lower third, bad gambler," I mean, you could put that on there because there's facts to it, you know.
I don't know how much his dad would appreciate the bad gambler part of it, though. Or is that a sore spot we shouldn't touch?
Yeah, they're probably not right now. Maybe I shouldn't even brought up the Brady cheating thing either, but
Probably not.
Guys, I'm sorry, folks. We keep it 100 here on the Hoots podcast. Anyways, it's all subject to whoever program directors out there. I know from the radio side that we don't usually deal with low thirds unless we're recording a video segment to put on the website. When it comes to, like, you have a host from a certain show be like, spend 5 minutes talking about the Bulls trying to find somebody to trade before the trade deadline next week, something like that. So you have your name, let's say Mark Silverman from ESPN 1000. So Mark Silverman on top, on the lower half, you put that person's Twitter handle. You see that a lot of times. Or even, let's say, like, if the NFL had the Super Bowl on NBC, right? You would see the player introductions for each team. They'll show the player, and then they'll show their PFF rankings for their position. So Pro Football Focus. So that's stuff to look out for when it comes to lower thirds. So to your question, I think it's okay to troll a little bit, and maybe some of these
football.
it is.
Yeah.
It's football related. It was. He wasn't wrong in what he said in the lower third.
I'm staying out of that one.
I mean, the thing that bothers me from someone who's in the business is that we get so uptight over semantics, yet we're not actually paying attention to what's being put into it. Because you can say anything on air or put something in the production, but if you're not doing your homework and knowing the purpose behind why that was on air, or not even proven before the show comes on there, that's on you. That's not on the producer. That's not on anybody else on the show. That's your fault.
Listen, I'm a Tom Brady fan, and everyone is an Oakland Raiders fan. It's, but there's certain players in the league I appreciate, and I appreciate Tom Brady, and I don't care. I know that's going to be that'll be the most controversial point on this entire podcast. It won't be anything we talk about other than I think Tom Brady's a good football player, and that's what people will fucking freak out about. But
right.
Listen, man, listen, I love Tom Brady as a player, but at the same time, it's funny to make fun of him. Like when he looked like King Koopa on the sidelines with that big ass coat the one season and a goofy little hat. Yeah, it's funny to make fun of him. Like when we put ourselves out there for ridicule, I'm the first one to throw it right back on myself. You know what I mean? So I think these players and these people have tougher skin than what we give them credit for. I think it was just a network that jumped the gun too quick. I really do. Like, I think it was just like a trigger finger kind of like move, a panic move because they didn't, maybe he didn't. I don't think they really saw how, if they would have let it go, Josh, do you think that it actually would have been good publicity, not only for even for KDK, they would have been like, oh, look how fun this is that like even Pittsburgh's getting involved, I mean, it's Super Bowl weekend. This is like what we're supposed to be, regardless of who your affiliation is. You're supposed to somewhat have a stake in the, to have some skin in the game, I guess, but I don't know, man. I thought it was pretty clever. I thought it was funny, and I love Tom Brady, so I don't see why this dude's losing his job.
Yeah, it's okay for the local sports reporter here in Chicago to trash Maroon 5 when it comes to the Super Bowl weekend events, but he doesn't get fired.
Yeah.
like that sports reporter is on CBS, and the Super Bowl will be on CBS Sunday. You that program director wasn't offended. Oh, you're messing up our promotion and yada, yada, yada. The media business is just as shady as the wrestling business. But to Tom Brady, as we move on here, get back to wrestling, him saying doing that whole prep rally the other day where he's like, we're still here, we're the underdogs. That's like Randy Orton saying that I'm an underdog.
Yeah, that was a little. You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of like all the Democrats after the last election. When they're going, we're like the day after everyone's like marching. It was 2 days after. So the women's march, I supported that. Don't get me wrong. There was another march after the women's march that was like everyone was like, we're still here, we're not going anywhere. Like, no shit. We didn't have like a nuclear fucking like explosion. Like it was an election.
Yeah, you didn't get the job done.
Yeah, it's just like, but that's what it reminded me of. It sounded really whiny, like we're still here. No shit, man. Listen, and I don't care. When you make the Patriots the underdog, they're winning. That's all there is to it.
Yeah.
Don't ever paint them out to be the underdog. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's bad. All right, so I talked about this on Twitter the other day, that I was going to offer an apology to all of you listeners who've been listening to our shows over the last 4 to 5 years.
Oh, do tell. See, I'm not on Twitter enough to know this. Yes. Yeah. Awesome. I'm going to mute my mic and sit back and enjoy this one.
I think brother Adam here will attest here that like I wear my heart on my sleeve, and maybe sometimes with fault that I do live and die by my honesty and how I feel about certain things. But like, I'd rather you guys deal with the authentic Joshie than the perception of who Josh Lopez is. Like, I don't have a gimmick. Like, I come on here, I say what's on my mind, and, maybe I'm not the flavor of the month of the wrestling bubble, or maybe I don't say things that's going to create conversation, whatever, like Sam Roberts trashing Bianca Belair on a pre-show this to get Twitter talking about him during the entire TakeOver show. Like, I don't do that stuff. I want my words and the content of the show speak for itself. So I come on here over the last 4 or 5 years and talking about my perception of wrestling fans just being jaded, negative, just for the sake of being negative and not really appreciating the shows for what they are. But coming out of this Royal Rumble weekend and just analyzing the backlash that comes out of these big 4 weekends over the last couple years, I realize it's not that wrestling fans want to be jaded and just want to critique for critiquing purposes, or they think they can do booking better than the companies. I realize that a lot of wrestling fans still act like they're still in high school and they can't move on from certain things that they're brought up in.
You know what, Josh? This is what I've said for years now, and why I've slowly, I really haven't used Facebook in like 3 years. Realistically, I haven't in Twitter. Like, I just stopped using like last year and shit. Like I said, I use Instagram, but that's about it. And that's kind of scarce, That's just to support some people out there, like Roy Johnson, who just got signed to a modeling deal over in the UK. So good on you, Roy. Big shout out to Big Wavy. Kids making moves, man. Yes, but sir. Listen, the problem with social media is that is the same problem that you have in corporate America, where you, like when you work in retail, or you work in a warehouse, or you work in, they give it feels like high school when you work in those establishments as well, because it is, and they keep it that way. There's been studies, and knock it all you want, but John Oliver did a really good piece about this a couple years ago, and most companies, like your Googles or your Apples, your Amazons, or your whomever, they want you to feel more enamored by work than you are at home. They want you to feel more comfortable at work than at home. They actually want to become your family, because if they can, they want you to put them first all the time. And they were talking about how that causes, how that has led to an increase in the divorce rate as well, because, it's right. Because they it's always, it used to be you go to work, you went home, whatever. Some people went out and drank afterwards, but now it's like, look, companies have fun drinking events all the time together, or, ooh, we're going to go on a company trip. They're like this place, like you're still in fucking high school taking a field trip. You know what I mean? That is where, as a society, we're going sideways. Like, you shouldn't get rewarded for going to fucking work. You know what I mean? Like, I'm an independent worker. I'm on the private side of things. my boss don't take me to no goddamn Kennywood just because I helped sell a couple houses. You know what I mean? Like that's not how. And if you live in the Pittsburgh area, you know what Kennywood is. Or if you watch a lot of things about amusement parks, you know what Kennywood is. But Josh, I think that's it's a double-edged sword here that in the workplace, 9 times out of 10, it is a very high school gossipy. Everybody has their own little cliques kind of deal. It carries over on social media because you find the same thing. Josh, I saw this a couple years ago, and that's when I first walked away from podcasting. Everybody wanted to shit talk me, but here it is what it is. And I've told you guys all the different scenarios, but I just started to grow the fuck up. And I realized that, holy shit, this is all a waste of time. Like, not podcasting, obviously, Josh, but I'm saying, well, for all the number of shows I was doing, yeah, it was an absolute waste of time. But just being on Twitter and giving a shit about what somebody thinks on Twitter, or, you know, right. I went on yesterday just because it was Bell Let's Talk Day, and I just put it out there, like, just be good to each other, man. Like, be there for each other. That's what social networking is supposed to be for. Like, if my buddy Colin, like, or I, like, need to get something off our chest, and we inbox each other, we send out a bat signal to each other. It's a little Gary Carter thing. It's a long story, but, you know, it's good to have friends like that. You know, Josh, we wouldn't have met if it wasn't through social media. You know, different things like that. However, there's that pack mentality now, no matter where you're at, whether it's in your workplace or – because now that I've been out of retail now for well over – you know, I've been working independently for 3 years, but I still had a retail job on the side. And now that I'm just fully – you know, I've been out of retail for about 1.5 years now, and I'm seeing – it's toxic, man. It's necessary. Yeah. It's a necessary evil. But – yeah, I would much prefer to be in the private side. So, you know, in a weird way, I think that's also, and we'll talk about this later on too, but I think that's why people are pulling for AEW to a degree too. But
I just feel like it's odd for me to go on like Twitter and see guys that are like 40 or 45-year-old dudes like arguing, like 16-year-old girls arguing of like, oh, who's hotter and who brings more to the table, Edward or Jacob for the Twilight movies. Like, that's like I noticed when I look at wrestling Twitter. And again, I want to make another apology because I'm not going to put wrestling fans in the wrestling Twitter box. That's not right. Adam and myself are wrestling fans, big time wrestling fans since we were kids, and that's not going to change. We have different ways we look at the product, but again, I'm not going to put this whole thing in a box. So when I look at wrestling Twitter, it's just lacking context and lacking nuance. And you see that a lot in high school. And you have a lot of kids at that time that are naive and they don't know any better. Mm-hmm. You can say that a lot about wrestling fans or wrestling Twitter per se. And they don't understand the purpose behind why certain people are getting pushed, how they're getting pushed, or why this is happening or why that's happening. You know, we have questions, but you have to learn about that all the time, right? That's what we do as students at school, or at least the ones that actually
in life. I know people don't like to hear this because I'm like the old guy on here, but you do. I'm not saying you're smarter when you're older. It's just wisdom. Life experience teaches you that you like. There is certain times we get worked up over some real trivial bullshit. Myself, and I'm not throwing stones, man. Like, that's why I keep saying, like, learn from my mistakes. You know, that's always my thing. Like, Josh, and I'll get right back to you in a second. Kind of here's like what happened with me yesterday, just to kind of piggyback about like being in a chat room. I follow Pipe Bomb News on Instagram. It's a fantastic page. It's a fantastic follow. You guys should all follow them. But anyway, so I saw them quote underneath like one of Becky's posts or something, the lyrics to Shook Ones by Mobb Deep, the infamous, by the way. And I saw somebody underneath it just put, oh, it's a great song, and you know, M's the best. And I was like, I just put underneath, yeah, it's not M though, that's Mobb Deep. But we just started talking. It was good because we were talking music and stuff, you know. So it ended up, to make a long story short, it ended up that I was like, yeah, man, I saw M back in like the early 1999, like right after the Slim Shady LP came out. I think it was like a month or two after it, you know, it dropped. And this kid, I saw Eminem before this kid was even alive. Now you have to understand that it's not like one of these things like where it's like once you hit the age where you've seen someone that, to me, Eminem isn't like a new artist, or isn't even like. To me, Eminem is somebody that like debuted to me in my life when I was in college. So it's like I am so I'm not saying that I'm smarter than anybody listening to this, but what I'm saying is that if you're under a certain age, I've seen a hell of a lot more than you have, and I've experienced a hell of a lot more than you have, and I've had the ups, downs, lefts, rights, and you learn shit. And it just hit me, like I said, it's unfortunate how everything hit me, but it tied in with the election, some stuff with my daughter, some stuff with my family, some stuff, and it just was like, so this is everything's making sense, and because everybody wants to live that social media life. You want to get them follows. You live for the retweets. You live for we all did it. We all did it. There is a rush behind that. There's scientific studies. Whoa, Jesus Christ! Speaking of being in high school, my voice just went back to high school. Did you hear that?
Yeah,
that was me, a human being that made that high pitched thing. I'm getting worried, man. Sometimes my voice goes out on me. I need to get to a fucking doctor. Anyway, that's a totally different story altogether. Holy shit. I want that on a loop somewhere. That's fucking great. But, yeah, but that's my point, man, is that, I'll never say, and I actually, with what I do for a living, I'm always the dumbest guy in the room, and I love it. I love being and I can absolutely, I'm not ashamed to say it. I love being the dumbest guy in the room because you're always going to learn something, right? So that's something that I do think that when we talk about these things, and I say, listen, like as a father, a husband, and someone that's looking 40 square in the eyes in about 9 months, anything social media related is garbage, and you're setting yourself up for that to be triggered anyway. So,
right. And again, this is one of the main reasons why I'm doing a little bit of an apology.
No different in corporate America, though.
Yeah. This is one of the reasons why I'm apologizing to our listeners, because, even I've lost context as to why it's been a couple-year journey trying to figure out why I disconnect with a lot of the stuff that goes on with wrestling Twitter. And it came to me is that wrestling Twitter resembles a lot of things that I hated about my high school experience.
Right.
And it all came full circle this weekend. So, yeah. So, again, wrestling fans should not be put into the wrestling Twitter bubble. What I despise is the vitriol and the just idiocy that goes on in wrestling Twitter every single day. And after every single wrestling show, it's like, it's sometimes the conversations are just illogical before the back and forth even begins, which I think is something that people don't choose to point out. And a lot of times, because we could create our own reality when we're having back and forth debates about characters and why this is right and this is wrong. But also, you're losing context before you even start the argument. And B, sometimes the things you're saying doesn't even make sense at all. Mm-hmm. Too. So, it goes back to wrestling again. Doesn't make sense. Well, professional wrestling does not make sense.
No, yeah, it's not supposed to. Again, it's fantasy. It's just like, again, we don't do this with forms of entertainment, but the thing is that I'm my fear, and this is why I've always tried to I hate that I knock social media so much, but it is ruining the human experience because we've all become avatars. We've all become, because Josh, I've found in human life, because I'm old enough to remember what it was like before all of, everybody had a computer in their hand, let alone in their house. I didn't have a computer until I was in college, in the school computer, not myself,
Right.
So, but we're losing that human touch, so to speak, that human nature that kicks in of sympathy, empathy, different things like that. Now, I will say this though, when you see people in public, they are a million times different because A, compassion comes in. B, people typically don't want to argue. They go to Twitter, they go to Facebook, they go to Instagram to look for fights. So it's a release after work. They're stressed out from work. They need, it used to be the whole, what was the old adage back in the 50s and 60s and whatever. The man came home from work and was all mad and would take it on his life and blah blah blah. It's not like that now. You just, you know what I mean? It's or a guy who goes out to the bar, blah blah blah. No, people just go home and they go on Twitter, right?
Right.
It's they don't take it out on their significant others. They don't take it out on they don't go out to the bars anymore. They don't, and I'm not saying any of that's right. There's better ways to manage like frustrations and things like that. Like work out, fucking play a guitar, something, anything. You know what I mean? But that's what we do. We go for the thrill of the argument to see if we could win the argument. I had a friend of mine that it's like it's kind of a part of the family that admitted that he would on Facebook intentionally try to debate me just because it was like a rush for him. And I was like, that's a sickness, man. Like that's horrible. And why me? First of all, like who gives a shit about? If any of you like, no offense, I'm saying this as jokingly as possible, but I don't know why anybody gives a shit about what I've ever had to say, let alone like what you know what I mean. Like I don't understand. I've never understood that why I've been such a fun target for people over the years, but at the end of the day, man, it's that's what it is. It's people always want to feel like they've won. Dude, Trump talked about it, and I never thought I'd be saying this, but he's right. When it comes to wrestling, I'm so tired of winning, dude. I'm tired of winning. I don't know how all these people are out there complaining because I am winning and winning and winning. It's almost at a point where I need a weekend off of wrestling because I'm tired of winning, man. Trump was right. I am officially tired of winning because I feel like wrestling has been fucking awesome so far this year. And we're going to talk about that, towards the end of the show. But again, it's about how you look at things, man. And that's why you cut all the negativity out of your life. Things that tend to bother you, number one, won't bother you as much. And number two, you'll start to appreciate little nuances that you're just blinded to because you want to follow the pack on social media forums or go after a wrestler on Twitter because, now the big game is let's see if I can get a talent to engage with me. Why? Like, we're just going to harass people, That's where we're at now. Where harassment is. And I love and it's my favorite too is like, and again, we always go into this, like follow me on Twitter. Excuse me, don't follow me anywhere, man. Like, let me do my thing. I don't know.
This would be a good way to transition to our next point here. There's been a lot of back and forth going on and misleading things and who's going where and what's happening with wrestlers leaving WWE, or the automatic assumption is if somebody's disgruntled or they're feeling being held back, they're AEW bound. And before Aaron gets his thoughts on this time, I want to talk about this because this is my perspective of just seeing what's going on, and I see more of the topics about AEW on Twitter than Adam does. Like for me personally, I feel that a lot of us, especially in the podcasting bubble, are trying too hard to make AEW bigger than what it's supposed to be. That's just my observation for what's been going on over the last couple of weeks. I'm not saying I'm right or I'm wrong. This is just how I feel looking and seeing what's been talked about on these type of shows and on wrestling Twitter the last couple of weeks. So, again, we had the report. I didn't have the report, but last week they had something about Ronda Rousey leaving WWE, right? And that went to nowhere, right? The day before that, they're saying, the Revival asked for their release. They're going to get released. They're AEW bound. Well, they're still on television, and Scott Dawson was on the pre-show of the Rumble the other day.
I still think they should jump and be called cease and desist, but that's neither here nor there.
That's not a bad idea, by the way.
It's just it's a personal gimmick. It'd be so fucking awesome for them to walk in and just be called cease and desist. I don't know.
By the way, and I'm not a mark to the point where I get annoyed with this type of stuff. I just look at it and just start laughing because a lot of it, even in the wrestling media bubble, it's not, a lot of it's just talk. I could say anything about a wrestler on any brand right now, and they could be held back, and I'd be like, well, give it to April, they'll be AEW bound. Like, well, by the way, why does it have to be only All Elite Wrestling? New Japan lost a lot of stars over the last couple of weeks. Nobody's saying, they're not New Japan bound. Impact's picking up a lot of steam. Why wouldn't a wrestler who is in the United States wouldn't want to go to an Impact or Ring of Honor? They're making more money than they were, let's say, 3 or 4 years ago. Why is it automatically, somebody's disgruntled with their booking in WWE, that means they're AEW bound? I don't get it personally. Now, it doesn't bother me to the point where it's going to affect my day because I have more important things to worry about. But for me, for a company that's just starting, I think we're a little bit too desperate to make this out more than it's supposed to be. It's like me meeting a girl and making her out to be the most perfect thing that I ever seen in my entire life without even knowing half of what that girl's been through in her entire life or even knowing her personally.
Isn't that every woman? And I think that's marriage. So just, I'm sorry, continue.
Well, unless you're marrying a woman 2 weeks dating her. I don't know who does that these days. But anyways, my point is I think we should pump the brakes a little bit about where we're going with this AEW conversation. I'm excited for this little press conference they're doing next week when it comes to Double or Nothing. We'll get more information what's going on with that show per se. But I think we're going a little bit overboard with this, to be honest with everybody.
Okay, so two things. One, no, the joke about being married is that, no, listen, I don't care how long you know a woman. You never really still know a woman. Women are great at that. Women kind of always still keep like a little bit tucked away. Men will tell you anything. We're so dumb. We will say anything. We will tell you anything you want to hear. Women are smart. They know how to keep things to themselves. So that's the joke behind that. And I know every woman listening to this right now has got a little grin on their face because they know I'm on to their game. I'm starting to figure women out. Still don't mean I know shit about women. I'm just saying I'm just starting to realize that men are absolutely inferior. So as I continue from that point, no, but you know what, man? Here's where I'm at with AEW. And okay, Josh. So we've talked about this enough that you know that for me, I look at it that I think it's a double-edged sword of I think there is a lot of people that are just they want to be anti-WWE so bad when it comes to the Twitterverse that they've been dying for anything. I used to have people, and listen, take nothing away from any of the athletes that were ever in TNA/Impact over the years, but it was never even close to being good as WWE on its worst year. Let's just call it like it is. It's they never would have been able to sell out consistently arenas across the country. It just wasn't going to work, you know. So we never, since WCW folded, we've never really had that alternative, like Cody said a couple months ago. So right. I see, and I understand it because I'll admit, man, we talked before. And this is where like funny little stories come in, and where like I love having a little 9-year-old Mark for a daughter, and I mean that because we're watching SmackDown the other night together. They do the Nakamura bit, and you know I actually still think it's a work, but you know it is what it is. But they have Nakamura go, you know, take that weird pinfall or whatever, lose the title, and my daughter looked at me and she went, "That seemed a lot like what they did in Montreal." And I just lost it because first off, this is amazing that my daughter even she's instantly referencing the Montreal screw job in like random matches on SmackDown. But then listen, a couple hours later, you go in Nakamura on Twitter, it says WCW. You know, so now as a father, here I am. Like you have to understand, guys. My viewing experience is much different than even 10 years ago, Adam Daley. You know what I mean? Like I always have to put that out there, guys. I'm never throwing shade. I've been in every phase of the wrestling fandom. You know what I mean? Like I understand why there's a lot of arguments in like the 20-year-old like blah 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 bubble, but when you're older and you're watching it as a family and your daughter starts catching on things like that, it's like, oh, this is good. This is just good, you know? So are they playing into it? I don't know, but this is what's fun for me about it, right? I don't want, and like I keep saying every week, I like that what we're getting with AEW is more of a slow burn. We're getting one person here, episode into the Elite, being the Elite that teases someone else. We get someone else here, then we get somebody else here. Like they've slowly been dragging us along, and I think they've been doing this. It's really smart how they're doing this. Now, on the flip side of it, if it's enabling WWE to manipulate the wrestling media and fans into thinking their talent is leaving or not leaving, or if there is truth to certain talents leaving or not leaving, it's fun. This is where, Josh, it does feel like a sport again. This is where, you know, before we taped, we were talking about this. And I'm only saying that because WWE ultimately was always the Mecca. And I'm not saying that it isn't still always going to be the Mecca, because it is absolutely probably always going to be the Mecca when it comes to, you know, sports entertainment, but what AEW potentially has a chance to do is even just compete on a major level. I think that's all a lot of wrestling fans want. You know, even if it's just something that has substance that you know, because there's been a lot of people that have tried and they haven't, it's hard to beat the machine because there's a lot of money behind the machine, so once they finally have the money, I think as a fan, it is exciting to see this blossom and like the rumor mill start again, like it used to be back in the day with like the WCW. Like this absolutely made it fun now, but by no means will I ever quote unquote take a side, or because I will always stay firm on this. When everybody succeeds, we succeed. We win. We absolutely do not want WWE to put AEW out of business, or AEW to put WWE out of business, or somebody to put New Japan out of business. Or we don't want that. We don't. When everybody succeeds, it's better for the performers. It's better for talent. It's better for the ring crew. It's job security. You know what I mean? It's just job security. It's better for the bosses. It's better for everybody all around when everybody is succeeding, because then that means everybody has to elevate their game a little bit more. There's nothing wrong with that. But I'll admit, Josh, it is a little upsetting to me that everybody's like, I saw under certain things because Nia was in the Rumble. It's like, this is why AEW is going to be so much better. Really? Because 20 years ago, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later too, but just prospectively speaking, if your hill to die on is that Nia Jax being in the Rumble, that's why AEW is going to be so much better. I want you to keep in mind the same talking heads that are always out there bashing WWE. We're going to put the World Championship on China 20 years ago. So why is that okay? Because that was the time when it was absolutely, you weren't there. There was no question that there was a little bit of a separation in the men's division and the women's division. You know what I mean? It was night and day. But yet China, not only Intercontinental Champion, had a great program with Chris Jericho, had Jeff Jarrett and Chris Jericho. So she's now, keep in mind, Hall of Fame legends she's tying up with. And at one point, they actually were going to put the main title on them, and fans were pining for it. Here's what happened, Josh. Here's what's up with AEW. And this isn't anything against AEW, because obviously I love the Bucks and I want them to succeed, because again, I think having a private and public company both thrive is necessary, not only in this country, but just for every facet, and it would only challenge each other to do better. So I'm looking forward to see what comes out of it all. But at the end of the day, AEW hasn't even had a match. Now, and I'm not doubting that they're not going to put out a quality product. I am not even doubting it. But what it is, Josh, is that 20 years later, all the men that are out there barking it, there's no men left in the world. Those insecure pricks are the ones that are crying because a woman is in the men's Rumble. Oh, it took 3 finishers to knock her out. Oh my God. Well, one year it took 5 to knock Cena out of Elimination Chamber or something like that. So listen, there's still at least I think I call it tiny dick syndrome. I feel as though that if you're out there and you're complaining that a female is better than you at something, you probably just have a small dick, and it's a common thing these days. Tiny dick syndrome it's not, unfortunately, they don't have a pill for that yet. It's a shame. I know a lot of people out there could use it.
It's not curable, by the way.
It is not curable at all, because typically they double down on it, and once you double down on because they want to prove how manly they are, it just shrinks up even more. It's like a reverse Pinocchio. You know what I mean? Like, right. Once you get in so deep, you realize that, oh shit, it's in me all deep. Like, it went up the wrong way. So I just think that. But how that ties in with AEW, man, I really do feel like people are so desperate for validation of their own point that this is the ultimate "we told you so" about WWE, right? That's the end game for I'm not saying for the wrestlers, but for the wrestling fan that is already just for some reason putting WWE in bankruptcy. Yeah. That's why. It's some weird subconscious thing where, without realizing it, WWE is running their lives to the point of it's a sickness that you want a company to fail that bad, and you've been just dying for another, So my point is that if you're dying for a company to fail so bad, I'm sorry about your tiny dick syndrome. If you have a problem with women, being better at certain things than men, it's because Nia would whoop your ass, and tiny dick syndrome. And we just need to start celebrating everybody and appreciating success. Yes, I want, dude, I'm not going to lie, man. I love the fact that, like, with Tommy, okay, is he staying, is he going? With Ambrose, is he staying, is he going? Dude, I'm eating it up. That's why I'm not throwing shade, man. I am eating this shit up. To me, it's amazing again. You know, this is, it's getting me really, really excited about about All Elite Wrestling and about the potential of what it could be. I just want to let it be first. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm not trying to like sign on anyone's like death certificates yet. You know, like it's just crazy how people want to instantly jump from point A to point Z without ever going through the motions of anything else. You know, and then they'll ride that point all the way into the sunset just because for some reason people can't flip flop. People can't change their minds because people can't learn anymore. People have to stay stubborn. And it's a frightening thing. And I think this is, unfortunately, and I keep saying it's a reflection of society, but it is. So where I'm at, AEW is doing a fantastic job. WWE right now, I think, is doing a fantastic job. If they have talent that might leave, best of luck to them, because I think, again, it's good for everybody. But it gives WWE though the opportunity to manipulate the fans too. And again, this is where it can get to where once everybody succeeds. As fans, man, we win, and we win big. So never out there, you know, want to see a human being fail. That's a sickness. That's a problem, man.
Right. And also, like, if you're having wrestlers from WWE that are leaving the company, like, it's not a sign of the company need to change things up. It's more an opportunity for the wrestlers who you want to see get more opportunities on the show actually get to be on the show. Tag teams, wrestlers in the mid-card division, women, you know, those other wrestlers have an opportunity to be on there. And also, please, for the love of God, stop posting that damn Cody Rhodes Hulk Hogan ear.
It's great. It is great.
Under every WWE wrestler.
It is great. Now, but so Josh, let me play, since everybody always wants to play super devil's advocate all the time. And listen, let's face it, I'm going to say this, and then probably this weekend or in Vegas, there's going to be an announcement that's going to prove me wrong on this. And that's what I'm hoping for. And I'm only playing this card just to be the contrarian. I do not believe this. I'm not, so don't take this. But if people out there want to play that game of well, this is why WWE sucks and this is why AEW is going to be so much better. The funny part is that for as much as the wrestling community claims to want women's wrestling, in the forefront, you're already crowning a company that only has one women's competitor. Correct. One. Nothing against Britt Baker because she's fantastic. But I'm saying you have one. Just like all the people that constantly berate WWE for how they treat women, but New Japan doesn't have any women. Again, let's slow your roll with the criticisms on any company, because I don't believe that, by the way, about All Elite, because they're gonna have a nice roster of women on their in their organization, and it's gonna be fun. That's why it's just obviously they got Britt first, and it was an awesome way to introduce her and make her the first draft pick. I actually really like the fact that they made her the first draft pick. I think that'll tie into her character they'll be able to tie that into her character. But they're going to have more sign on. But as of right now, it's just Britt Baker. So you're crowning a company that doesn't even have any. That's why I can't jump to conclusions anymore. Like, I like riding just the journey in the wave out. And I think that's what all these companies would prefer us to do. I'm not saying not be passionate about it. They absolutely want us to be passionate about it. But it is getting a little ridiculous. Like, and we'll talk about the Rumble in a minute because, but Shane Helms brought up a great point. Like, he dropped the hardcore title to Molly Holly at WrestleMania, and you guys can say, "Oh, it doesn't matter. It was the hardcore title." Well, no offense, and I love Mustafa Ali, but all Nia Jax did was eliminate a 205 live guy. If we're gonna play harsh, let's keep it 100, man. So I don't understand why everyone's losing their minds about it, because it's not like a Mustafa Ali was actually gonna win the motherfucker.
Yeah. She cheap shotted one of the biggest comedy acts in the WWE and R-Truth to even enter the match. And like you said, she eliminated the 205 Live guy. So,
and again, it was awesome. We'll talk about that when we get there under that.
Yeah. But also, hey, because you don't see something happening and you don't understand why at that exact moment doesn't mean it's wrong or stupid or whatever. Like, I never understood that mindset when it comes to wrestling. But I wanted to say this really quick because we got to move on. We got a lot of wrestling out there these days, and how you consume it is how you consume it. But I just feel like at the end of the day that we are doing more damage to AEW than them promoting their product right now. That's just how I feel about it, and I'm excited. I'm excited to see where things go here, but we do got to move on here.
Real quick though, remember.
Oh, I want to say this. I forgot this point. You want the biggest example of tiny dick syndrome? I saw a tweet after the Rumble was over. Don't get offended if a man wrestler gets in a women's Royal Rumble match next year.
Okay, we had James Ellsworth win the women's Money in the Bank and drop it to Carmella. We've already done this, guys. Let's not mince words. But Josh, remember the one thing about AEW though too. Don't forget though, there is no such thing as bad publicity. So even criticisms, like how you said that, you're kind of we're doing more damage. Or some fans out there could be doing more damage to AEW. I don't know, man. I think right now, as long as they're being talked about negative or positive, that's a positive, because that's another social media tick that they got that WWE didn't. You know what I mean? If we're looking at that mindset. Again, I still think it's more so that people don't realize that as much as they complain online, they're actually boosting a company when they complain about that company online, because it's entertainment. It's not like you're buying milk off of WWE and it's like, oh, this shit was spoiled, and you throw it away and you sue them because you got some kind of weird stomach disease now. That only happens when you buy shit at Brunton Farms up in Independence. No, I'm totally kidding. It's a great dairy. It's a great dairy. Buy all your milk from there if you live in the Pittsburgh area. Seriously, it's got the most killer chocolate milk you ever drink. And now I'm just like conning for like people that I went to high school with. But it's the same kind of scenario, man. I keep using obscure references, guys, just to try and make you realize that we're kind of getting worked up over nothing a lot of times, instead of just kicking back and enjoying it. Like, once we get to the Nia point, I'm going to talk about how just some things that my daughter was really happy with. And I know people, but you'll see why. And about how she was happy with how they broke down gender norms and how they weren't afraid to hit Nia with finishers, and how she thinks that in her mind she was just so happy because like she's dying for the men and women to scrap against each other. She loves intergender matches. So for that moment in time, like she was in her glory. I don't know. But Josh, is it about me, the almost 40-year-old? Is it about the 30-year-olds? Is it about the 20-year-olds? Or is it about the 9-year-old that if you hook them at 9 and they're lifetime fans, it ends up being that when you're 39 like I am, you spend more wrestling merchandise than you have in like 15 years in every company that's out there, whether it's the independent scene, whether it was New Japan merchandise, whether it was WWE merchandise, whether it was Elite merchandise, whether it was Bullet Club, dude, we bought a little bit of, this was probably like, I dumped more money into wrestling this year than I have in fucking a long time. And it was evenly spread across the board, man. That's the beauty of it. That's what it's supposed to be about. And for anybody to want one side to bury the other side, fickle.
All right, let's talk a little bit about NXT TakeOver Phoenix from this past Saturday. This couple things that stood out to me. I really enjoyed the entrance of the War Raiders to start out the show. I just thought it was pretty cool. And a little fun factoid for those that don't know. Kind of like those pop-up videos they did back in the day of the MTV era.
Oh, God, VH1.
Sarah Logan was one of the Vikings in the shield armor they had for the War Raiders entrance, which is pretty cool. I think that she wanted to be part of the entrance so bad with her husband. Awesome. I think that's awesome.
That's so cool. See, I didn't even get to see the entrance because I think I'm still in the shower. My daughter got to see it. That's the first thing she was telling me about. Was like, should have seen him come out with this Viking thing. Like she was all fired up about it.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. The match was really good. Roderick Strong and Kyle O'Reilly are great technical wrestlers. I always enjoy watching or transcribing their matches. They're great performers. And the War Raiders are your new NXT Tag Team Champions. Be on the lookout for my boys I was saying last week, Fabian Eichner and Barcel Barthel. That's a new tag team to be looking out for. But yeah, the War Raiders are getting the titles. And I'm going to be honest, guys. I like I said, I enjoy watching the Undisputed Era wrestle, and I like them as performers. But the faction and the character part of it hasn't really hit me personally, to be honest with you. I'm not a fan of the theme song. It's cool that they're together as a group, but
The theme song grew on me, not gonna lie.
Yeah.
It did.
The Undisputed Era, as far as characters, has been a flop to me, as far as the original intention of them being the dominant force in NXT. It's, at least from what I've watched NXT over the last couple of years, that's just my opinion. But
this is where I haven't watched enough to give an opinion. That's why I stay out of it. It's like that South Park episode where Jimmy and Timmy join the Crips. Nah, I'm staying out of this one.
Right. I'll just start the show. By the way, I want to give shout out to my good brother B-Rob. He sometimes when I'm like transcribing matches, like they have fancy names for certain moves. So like Kota Ibushi, he has like this high knee strike. He calls it Kamigoye. And I was like, Matt Riddle did that same move to beat Cassius Ohno the other night on NXT. So that knee strike, he like popped it up like whatever. And I was like, what do I call this? I just put Kamigoye, and B-Rob was like, put the Kamabroe.
Yes.
Yes.
Well played.
So shout out to B-Rob for that.
Well played.
Kamabroe, I love it. Bianca Belair put Shayna Baszler to the limit, but Baszler did end up picking up the victory. Baszler is very underrated as a wrestler, especially for the lack of experience she has. Shayna Baszler is about that life. So
I will say this real quick because I didn't catch the first two matches. This match is where I started watching it on because I haven't been watching NXT weekly. I haven't seen Bianca Belair as much. I get that her hair for the character. I just feel like it gets in the way a lot. Like you could see that it's like there was a lot of times where it seemed like there was more concern about where like trying to get her hair out of the. I don't know, man. I don't know, and I know it's part of the gimmick, and maybe I don't know if it's natural or if it's a weave or whatever, but
right.
I don't know. I just don't know if I don't know, man. Do you feel it's a distraction or am I just overthinking it, or is it?
Well, I think for her match, she emphasizes more the hair whip because of what it does in the ring. I think from watching each week, she's more about her braggadocious attitude, and she's like she brags about being undefeated. Like
right.
That's more of her shit.
I just meant just match wise. This is gonna sound whatever, but just from a safety standpoint, it just seemed like it was like her hair was always kind of getting in the way where like you're either knocking it out or you're repositioning it. And granted, I mean she's getting used to it. I mean she's training that way, so it's not like I don't know. That's just something I thought about, man. Because like, just could you imagine like hair that long getting tangled up in the corner ropes or something, and just a move gone bad or some shit? It's because it's overly long hair. You know what I mean? That's all.
They're doing those ring post spots a lot now these days. So what got caught in between one of those turnbuckle, like in between the knob in there.
I was watching WoW Wrestling this week. Yeah, I was absolutely watching WoW Wrestling this week. And I saw Tessa Blanchard was cutting off what's his name's oxygen, man. This is the illest shit I've seen in wrestling in a long time. Who's the champion of WoW right now?
I'm sorry, folks. I even myself don't have enough time to watch.
Shit.
WoW.
She's second gen too. Santana Garrett. Was it Santana Garrett? No.
Is it her?
Maybe I think it's Santana Garrett.
Okay.
Is it? Yes. Okay. I'm getting confirmation from my daughter that yes, it's absolutely Santana Garrett. So her dad was in the crowd. Yeah, and they had Tessa Blanchard go over and like pinch off his oxygen. It was like, oh my God, this is nuts. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
Sidetrack.
Ricochet, Johnny Gargano certainly did disappoint. I mean, even a rocket science to figure out that these two were going to have an awesome match. Johnny Takeover is finally a champion, so a lot of the Takeover show was kind of building up to this halftime heat 6-man tag team match that we're having on Sunday. They showed the Velveteen Dream in the crowd before the main event. You had Aleister Black and Tommaso Ciampa as the main event of TakeOver. Pretty long match. Tommaso Ciampa did find a way to retain. He's still your NXT champion. This leads to this big brouhaha after the show's over. So you have Johnny Gargano and Ciampa celebrating with each other. Kind of like NXT TakeOver Chicago, the first one. before Ciampa turned his back on Gargano. They're raising hands and their titles with each other. And then Velveteen Dream's coming out to him and he's running his mouth. You have Adam Cole coming out. And all these guys start bickering about who's the real champion, right? So you have all the guys from the previous 3 main title matches, and then you have other guys in between like Adam Cole and Velveteen Dream. They start brawling all over the stage. They're getting separated by the refs. They start fighting in the gorilla position. My Uncle Chris was pointing this out. He's like, yeah, they're all fighting the shit out of each other. They're like, oh, here comes Triple H. Oh, I gotta be quiet. I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, they got silent real quick.
Yeah. So yeah, they're gonna do a 6-man tag team match. I don't know if they recorded it over this weekend or at the NXT tapings last night. I don't know when they recorded this or they're actually doing it live at the Performance Center. I have no idea when they're recording this thing. But anyways, halftime heat. Tommaso Ciampa, Johnny Gargano, and Adam Cole against Aleister Black, Ricochet, and the Velveteen Dream. 6-man tag team match, halftime heat. That was NXT TakeOver Phoenix. That's some of the stuff that came off the top of our head for that show. But let's get into the Rumble and get into this Nia Jax stuff. Like I said, we're not going to break down all the matches for the Rumble. There was some really good wrestling on the Rumble. I'll say that.
Yeah, I enjoyed the pay-per-view.
Yeah, like Asuka and Becky to start off the show, I thought was the right choice. I thought that was really cool. It really set the tone of the night for Becky Lynch and how that was going to go with her winning the Rumble match later on. But let's start with the Women's Rumble actually. Start with that actually because I'll admit, I think like the performer that stood out to me for like surprises out of everybody was Casey Catanzaro. Who was from the American Ninja Warriors. Yeah, she's good, she's hot, and she's probably the most agile female performer I've ever seen in my life. Her inner balance to get back up on the ring post like that to save herself from the elimination, I thought that was pretty dope. She's pretty good. I thought it was cool to see Rhea Ripley in there in the Rumble. I thought she did a good job in there as well. Try to see who else came out. Oh, Kairi Sane and Io Shirai. A lot of Japanese and Chinese little tidbits for all those different markets that got to be surprised in the Women's Rumble. So we're talking about this like, usually the Rumble you try to drag out who could be from the past era or from the certain city from the past, like they live in Phoenix, like you bring in for a regular Rumble match. But the emphasis of the younger NXT talents and the other certain brands in the WWE to be as surprises as a Rumble is something that I appreciated and I enjoyed for this year's Rumble match.
Yeah, I like that too. That's something that I think was pretty unanimous in this house. Even my daughter was like, she loved it last year how they brought back some of the like legends, but she really wanted to see like the newer talents. It was just cute to hear that too. But one thing I wanted to say about the Rumble itself is, unless my dog's gonna start to go nuts here, but here's the funny thing about the Rumble, and again, sometimes we're trying to compare apples and oranges, and even though it's like the same sport, for example, every Rumble we got the Kofi spot, right? In the Women's Rumble, we had like 5 Kofi spots. You know what I mean? It's like, hey guys, catch up. And obviously it's because, listen, typically you have bigger athletes in the Men's Rumble. It's, they're not, but this is why sometimes these things can work, like the Nia Jax thing that we're going to talk about later on. But that was one thing that I picked up on was that we all kind of were picking up on was like, Jesus, another Kofi style spot. Like these girls can go. I totally agree, man. Again, I want to see the stars of the future. Nothing against the stars of the past, but we're supposed to keep going forward, right? We're supposed to keep, kind of. I think the biggest problem as wrestling fans is we're stuck in the past.
I found this quote. I thought it was very interesting to add on to what you're saying. How will we ever evolve in this era if we never take that next first step?
Right. And that's in anything. That's in business. That's in wrestling. That's in a relationship. That's just life, man. So why would it be any different? Especially a business that could have some competition soon. You absolutely want to showcase not only what you have right now, but what you're going to have in the future. Just to let people know, hey, these are some faces you might be seeing pretty soon. I love what they did with the Women's Rumble.
like they showed some spotlight for the younger performers from the main roster who don't have like the big storylines. Like the Riot Squad were dominating the Rumble match for like 3 to 4 minutes, something like that, or the whole thing with Mandy Rose and Naomi consequently eliminating each other from the Rumble match.
The Hornswoggle spot.
I thought, oh yeah, that was pretty funny of it.
I called it too. There was just too.
You knew
it
right?
went on too long. Yeah, it was going on too long. Because even Sam was like, I wish they quit showing her. And she was like, if they wouldn't show her, it would be like an awesome surprise if she snuck back in. I went, they're gonna fucking bring out Hornswoggle. It was just like, because if they wouldn't have shown her, that's the element of surprise, right? Have the viewer forget about somebody being out there, and then that's the smoke and mirrors trick of that. But when you keep showing her, it's like, okay, something's happening here. Yeah. And I didn't think it was going to be the Boogeyman. So
no, thank God. That would have been a little bit weird.
Oh, it would have been weird. I liked Zelina Vega's outfit coming out as Vega, though. I thought that was cool. But real quick about let me just add a little salt and pepper onto the Asuka Becky match. I thought this was one of the matches of the night. I really, really, really enjoyed this match, and I really think it did a lot for Asuka. Sam and I were talking, and this is where I think that the wrestling fans don't see the big picture. Like, Becky Lynch losing and then winning the Rumble not only makes her look stronger, but it makes Asuka look stronger, and that's what they needed. Just like in WrestleMania 31, they have Seth Rollins lose to Randy Orton, so you don't think that he's going to cash in and look strong at the end of the night. It's you try to make people forget about or make them look weak, so it can't be tonight. I thought they did a really, really good job of incorporating. I'll admit I was concerned, because I know the fanfare right now is very Becky Lynch heavy. And when they had not only the women's match, but then they put Becky in the Rumble and kind of got that match out of the way pretty early, I thought, damn, all right, so they already used Becky twice in the first 2 hours. Wow, which way is the crowd going to go once it's 11:30 and we're still going? You know what I mean? So I'll admit there was a level of concern there. But I thought it was brilliant what they did. The crowd pop was amazing.
One of these days I want Alexa Bliss to have an Edge moment where she's off of television for 6 months, whatever it is. Nobody expects her to come in. You have this Elimination Chamber match, right? They're trying to figure out who's going to be the number one contender, or even you could put the women's title in the chamber, right? Mm-hmm. I was thinking about this the last couple days because you have the Rumble match, and this is the year where we get these bigger gimmick matches toward the bigger shows. And now we got the women's tag team elimination chamber match. But let's say a chamber match in the future. You have them out, and you have Alexa Bliss come in Edge did in one of those chamber matches in the past. He's damn it! No! This is to piss everybody off. Let's say Nikki Cross is the flavor of the month. She's getting this big push. Everybody wants her to win. It's her time to be the man, people kind of cool down on Becky Lynch. Of course, people are not going to cool down Becky Lynch. Calm down, everybody.
I was going to say, yeah.
Don't send the pitchforks towards me. I'm just going with the angle here, okay? Calm down.
So you were asking for a revolt right there, brother.
Yeah. Jesus Christ. It's like Daniel Bryan in 2014. God damn. All right. So again, I was saying, had this cool spot Alexa Bliss coming in Edge, she's in cahoots with whoever's the dude manager, Raw or SmackDown at that time, and I think she'd get good pop. I don't know. I see a lot of Edge in Alexa Bliss, and I don't know why. They have different characters, but the way they piss people off and how they wrestle in the ring reminds me a lot of each other in a lot of ways.
See, Alexa's promos remind me a lot of old Triple H promos in a way. They're very cerebral. And I know Edge was the ultimate opportunist, but I still, I've made the comparison since day one between Becky and Edge, and I'm still going to, only because I feel once we got heel Edge, we got a different Edge. And, this was supposed to be a heel Becky. It's just that we all gravitated towards her because it was like that. Is everybody is going to keep saying, we keep saying it's that Stone Cold type figure. It's that outlaw, that badass that just don't give a what. And it's always refreshing when we have that character. And we really, truly have never had it in the women's division, So, and I do think, Becky Lynch is also challenging just people in society in general to think differently as well. And I think that says a lot about her and the development of this character and just how it's resonated with the fans.
So other things that stood out to me from the Rumble, again, It always seems like whenever Shane McMahon has a match on a pay per view, or at least like a Mania or a Rumble, it's like, okay, this could be the least like hyped match of the show. People don't know how they're gonna feel about it. Yada yada yada. And again, him and Miz get one of the loudest pops of the entire show.
Shane always delivers. He always delivers.
It was cool. The whole stuff with the dad and making the whole story of trying to get Miz's dad to be proud of him. I thought that was kind of cool because it kind of correlates to the whole Miz and Mrs. thing where, like, George is like the biggest funny character of that entire show.
He's great.
Or maybe Maurice's mom. That
girl. She's great too. Yeah.
So I thought that was cool. It was a nice little comedy bit. I don't know if they're playing that into the second season of Mrs. Maybe that's why they're doing this thing with Miz and Shane McMahon. I have no idea, but
if you guys can hear her crunching, I'm sorry. That's my dog eating a treat next to me. I'm going to mute my mic.
Yeah, yeah, it was cool to see them get that kind of pop like that. Really quick, I have a promo that I'm going to be airing at the beginning of the show this week where Dana Bryan talks about the universe being fickle when it comes to WWE Championship matches and having certain performers in there, and you're sitting on your hands. And his promo after Rumble really curtails of what happened with him and AJ Styles at the Rumble, because they went on after the Women's Rumble match, and it was quiet, whatever. Maybe they got a little more noise towards the end of the match, but just from my opinion, transcribing the match and how the wrestling was, I thought it was really good. And it's happened a lot with AJ Styles WWE title matches. Nakamura, I was there for it at WrestleMania last year. Samoa Joe, before the whole Wendy angle, like their title matches would have people be sitting on their hands, I don't know if it's an AJ Styles thing or, like we get on these big campaigns for these certain wrestlers to have title opportunities and being champions. And once they become champions, it's like, okay, what else do I have to cheer for?
Right.
Yeah. And I thought Daniel Bryan really brought that up to his promo. That's why I'm airing at the beginning of the show this week. I thought they had a good match, but again, people are sitting on their hands.
Listen, the Straight Earth Society is awesome. But I think that if this match is on a New Japan pay-per-view, people are giving it 5 stars, 6 stars maybe. I don't know what this star rating system is anymore. But I don't know. I do think that's a good point. It fell after the Women's Rumble. Maybe the crowd was a little gassed. Maybe they had to use the restroom. Maybe, that's part of it. I think part of it, Josh, is in a way, I think that we need new opponents. Even though we've always had new opponents for AJ Styles, I almost feel like we need him on Raw. You know what I mean? Like, or something. Because I think it has less to do with the work that they put in. It has less to do with the angle. I don't think any of that. I think it's misdirected hostility. I think it's false blame. I think and I don't think there's anybody to blame in this other than we've had AJ Styles on SmackDown now for 3 straight years, and he's kind of been the face of SmackDown now for 3 straight years. Because everything is such short form theater anymore, those 3 years or so, whatever it is, they feel like 10. So in a way, it's almost like the Lesnar effect, right? People were tired of Lesnar because that's all we get. We've only had AJ Styles realistically in title matches unless, as much as people hate this, entertainment angles. And I think people probably want either new matchups, fresher matchups for him, or him to be submerged in more of an entertainment style angle versus constantly going for the championship. Because eventually it does wear, and it would happen if it was, let's talk about New England Patriots in this Sunday Super Bowl, or if it was in the NBA Finals, people are tired of the Warriors and the Cavaliers, or people are you name it. It's not a criticism of mine at all. I think it's just human nature now we don't appreciate longevity as much as new, fresh, and everything like that. You know what I mean? So I just think that there's a freshness that they need to reignite behind AJ Styles, and then I think everything will follow behind that. Because honestly, I think the storylines have been great. I think everything that Styles has been doing has been fantastic. It's just he's kind of stuck in a position maybe that he's stuck. he's stuck being in that top guy position to where he's not that that's a bad place to be. Please don't. The paychecks come in very nicely, I'm sure. But I think that from a fan standpoint, I think that's where what happened with this. Now that's absolutely though being fickle. Daniel Bryan's right. The promo is on point because that's absolutely what it is. It's a fickle nature of the fans now because it's again short form theater. We want new next. What's next? What's next? It's never just enjoy the moment, the here and now. It's always 2 years ahead, a year ahead. It's not even like the next month. We're so far ahead sometimes. So
right. Work with me here.
Gotcha.
AJ SmackDown's the house that AJ Styles built, right?
True.
But from a wrestling standpoint, the mortgage hasn't been paid recently.
Ooh. No, he's been paying the mortgage.
Or maybe the appliances haven't been working out.
Yeah, maybe that's a better one because he's doing his part. I just feel like the utilities just aren't there's problems with the utilities, I guess.
Yeah.
No, and I feel like because it's nothing Styles is doing. It really isn't. But I think it's more of a and you know what, man, I do think that there's a lot of it is that Daniel Bryan's character is as much as he's supposed to be hated right now. I think he's getting more of a pop than he should. Because it's great. That's why. It's obscure and over the top.
You want to talk about the best of the world and all that? Best character, best wrestler, whatever. Daniel Bryan is getting a lot of love, and rightfully so right now, as far as all companies are concerned. Yep. Especially his promo from SmackDown the other day, where
awesome.
The title's made out of 100% organic hemp, and I was like,
I applaud any man that chooses to go that route.
By the way, I don't mind the Eric Rowan thing because it goes back to where Bryan was part of the Wyatt family. That parent doesn't bother me that much, to be honest with you.
I like that Eric Rowan is a man of the earth too, and I love the fact that he was wearing a Tom Savini shirt at the Rumble. Savini's a Pittsburgh dude. Savini actually, backstory. I talked to someone in the Pittsburgh area that went to Tom Savini's school here. He has like a theater school. If you don't know who Tom Savini is, watch From Dusk Till Dawn. He's Sex Machine, but he's also one of horror's greatest princes when it comes to developing great horror films, great costumes, great everything, So that being said, I was speaking with a gentleman that made Eric Rowan's couple masks the last time, when he had like 3 or 4 masks that he was wearing, like alternating. One had like the hoses and stuff, all that kind of stuff. But he showed me the one that Rowan already debuted, and he just kind of was like, listen, he's got a couple more. I just obviously can't show them to you. So I like that there was a connection between Rowan and Savini and how he kind of paid homage to him. So I thought that was really, really cool. But dude, I love that it's almost a Gallows style scenario where it was like, well, Gallows was in like a drug induced state of whatever. So how do you, kind of flip him out of that real quick? Well, it's Eric Rowan who's just a man of the earth, because there's a lot of similarities, between what they're doing here. But dude, to me, it's working. I think it's working. I think it's when you can really hit the pulse of something that's going to trigger people. You're going to have half the people are going to absolutely love it, even if they don't agree with them, because it is something that is. There's a lot of us that just love to watch other people get mad. That's where I'm at. I actually don't get pissed anymore. I enjoy watching people get triggered over the dumbest shit. So it is. It's so funny, man. It's so funny. So when they do this and people start to get upset about it, but the other half of the people that absolutely love the creativity and just the overall, like the over the topness of it, and like how it can't just be the championship. Like this was made, and her name, what was her name? Was her name Betsy? No, what was Daisy? Daisy was the cow's name. Listen, that was awesome. It was just it's great heel work and it's great creativity. It's a great way to get underneath people's skin. So that's I think where Daniel Bryan. I think they thought they were going to irritate more people than they were until they realized, oh, people really are digging this. But so I think in a way, Styles is kind of. I actually feel more bad for AJ Styles because he's still hands down one of the best guys that they have, and he never disappoints. He always puts on one of the best matches of the night. He's always there. He's I just think it's more of okay, it's time to see him on the red brand versus the blue brand. That's all. I honestly think it's as simplistic as that.
Yeah, the appliances are breaking down, and you got to move to a new house.
That's No, sometimes you just gotta paint the walls. That's all. And these blue walls sometimes need to go red, but never paint your walls red. That's real bad juju, man. You don't want to mess with that shit, especially don't do that.
I don't want some Amityville horror shit.
Yeah, don't do that.
All right. You know what I really dig was Seth Rollins winning the Royal Rumble in Bears
gear. In what?
Bears gear.
Oh, that wasn't Phoenix's colors?
No, that's Bears gear.
Oh, was it? Listen, yep. I'm just glad one of my guys, one of my favorites, finally won a Rumble. I never Mr. Perfect never won a Rumble. Punk, Jericho never got a Rumble. Finally got a Rumble out of one of my favorite guys. So Edge did, but he was never. He was always underneath Jericho slightly. I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. Don't hate me.
Rollins winning the Rumble, man. It's pretty cool. Two guys in Shield have won Rumbles. Two guys on Shield have won Money in the Bank ladder matches in the past. Some cool spots from there. I thought Aleister Black eliminating Dean Ambrose from the Rumble match. I thought it was a cool spot. As Black was one of the surprises in the Rumble. It's kind of the same thing with the women's match. A lot of the NXT stars did a really good job in that match. Mm-hmm. Even Pete Dunne had a really good run in that Rumble match as well.
Absolutely. Pete Dunne did. Mustafa Ali had a really nice run in there.
Yeah. Did you have a good chuckle out of the Titus stuff?
Yeah. I mean, you knew they were going to do something.
They had the soccer chants whoa. By the way, I really like the stage setup they had for the Rumble this year.
Totally agree. I'm going to talk about that later too, yeah.
I thought that was pretty cool.
Dude, it was so cool. All the pictures that you got out of it. I look at a lot of stuff like this because at first it's there's no big screen, stuff like that. But then you start seeing all the still frames that that they took from it, and just how Rollins is standing up, looking at the crowd. And it's the picture's taken from behind him, and you can see just the whole crowd. I think he put it on his Instagram, and it was just said all at once or something like that. There was one that Becky Lynch is just standing there, and it's you can see the entire crowd standing behind her. Those are those photo ops that sometimes, man, this felt so different than other Rumbles. Than it felt bigger, and I don't. Maybe other people didn't feel that, and that's cool if you didn't. But maybe it's because I got a lot of the results I wanted to, But that's the same with other people. They tend to fit, I still think though that this was. I'm so glad they pulled the trigger and gave Rollins the Rumble. This man pours his heart, soul, everything into that ring, and he wasn't really the chosen one they're making him out to be. He had to bust his ass and mature as a person. Let's not, we all have to do. I know that I always keep saying that, but
it's not rainbows and butterflies.
Oh, you got to go through the ups and downs of life, man. And so and again, I think sometimes that injury might have been nobody ever wants to get hurt, but that could have been the best thing to happen to him because it really made him bust his ass even harder when he came back. And over the past year, it really has been Monday Night Rollins. I mean, consistently all over the place, and I'm really glad that they gave him the title. I really dug the fact that Ali eliminated Samoa Joe too. Correct?
Yes, that's correct. Yep.
See, I thought that was a nice little back and forth, so they can continue that on. And then, of course, number 30. We'll let you start, Josh, because I have my own opinions on it, but we'll let you lead this in.
I thought it was interesting, coming into the pay-per-view, a lot of people were like, oh, WWE has this big surprise that people are not going to see coming. And, the whole assumption was, oh, it's going to be Kenny Omega. I felt kind of bad in a way where we were all scheming ways to get R-Truth out of the dirtiest spot. But we were too.
We all were. It's so bad. Truth deserves better, man. We were all scheming his way out of there. That's dirty.
But he had a good end out of that weekend though. Props for Truth becoming the U.S. champion, so
yeah, cool.
Truth got something out of that weekend. So it was cool. Oh, by the way, shout out to Jack Swagger winning his first MMA fight on Bellator. So
yeah, that's also something cool, man.
All right, so back to Nia Jax. I had a not a gleeful, but I had a nice little inner chuckle inside me when she came out, where I was like, this is cool.
Yeah.
But I had the inner chuckle of the sky is falling because it wasn't Kenny Omega, where I knew where this was going in a lot of ways. Inside of me, from a trolling aspect, I was like, they did it again. When you're watching a WWE show, they want you to be pissed off. and talk about it.
Absolutely. Yeah, because again,
you don't want every show to be like, oh, I'm happy as Glee, like that's not how wrestling works.
Well, but this was a great moment though that it's subjective. There is no, she wasn't a face or heel. It wasn't anything. It was about you were either going to like what they did or not. And I think that the big risk, and this is where I'm going to break this down a little bit, is the risk was going to be how are certain people going to take to Nia Jax getting hit with 3 different finishers from men. That I feel was more of the concern than actually having Nia in the match itself. Now, I was actually astonished to hear that there was kickback, that people were like pissed about it, because to be honest, man, whenever like Truth came out, it was like, okay, something's got to happen, because they're like dragging it a little bit, and I couldn't tell at first like who. Then once I realized it was Nia, I went, oh shit. That was the first, like, that was literally my, like, and once she started throwing him off, dude, I popped so hard. So, like, and listen, kudos to Truth for taking the bumps, putting her over. Kudos to Truth for selling it. Kudos for Nia, too, for taking it. And it makes sense, guys, because it's always this thing, like, I know women are these weak and feeble creatures, right? It's, oh, my God. First of all, get over yourselves. That's number fucking one. Number two, for me, yes, I was absolutely fantasy booking Becky, like a lot of people were. But this makes so much more sense because Nia, in a way, is a super heavyweight of her division, right? She eliminated, again, it's the reason why I brought it up, she eliminated 205 Live guy. She is kind of like I don't want to say the Brock Lesnar, but she is the quote-unquote irresistible force, right? She is the dominant, like she's the muscle of the women's division.
Yeah.
It makes sense for her to go in there. That's why when it was all said and done, I was like, this is so – when she reversed the RKO, I popped again. Just the fact that all this was happening. And then when it was all said and done and she ate the 3 finishers and, they eliminated her, I was like, okay. It was cool. And here's where it breaks down where I wanted to bring in what my daughter's opinion about this. So we were talking after the Rumble, and I was like, what were your favorite moments? And that was actually, I'm pretty sure that was, and listen, she's an Asuka and Becky Lynch fan first, before anybody else. And I think her favorite moment might have been the Nia spot. And she kept just saying to me, and I just want to just put this out there to all the whiny podcasters out there, or if you're on Twitter whining about it, listen, pull your fucking dick out from your stomach, because tiny dick syndrome's a motherfucker. But my little 9-year-old daughter is sitting here going, the thing I loved about this the most is that I feel like they broke down barriers. And I was like, well, what do you mean, sweetie? She was like, they can finally have the women fight with the guys now. She was like, it's just TV. She was like, I want the women to fight with the guys. She was like, I want them. She's like, I don't want women to hit men, or I don't want men to hit women, obviously. She's like, but it's a TV show. I want them to be able to, I want intergender matches. This is a 9-year-old talking, right? So now I start thinking, I want to pitch this to you. There's somebody in NXT that runs with a really, really androgynous gimmick. Wouldn't that be an interesting WrestleMania matchup? Nia Jax and what's his name? I'm ranting so much I'm forgetting. Velveteen Dream.
Yeah.
Because he is absolutely running that Prince androgynous angle. To me, match them two up, have them wrestle. He is good enough to take care of her. She's good enough to take care of him. We could get there with WWE. I'm not as worried now as I was before about them doing intergender matches or anything like that. I think this was a litmus test to see how fans would react. The biggest key was, if you notice, the only complaint was a woman shouldn't be in the men's rumble. Okay, then take away all Chyna's titles, take away all of her appearances, take away Beth Phoenix's, take away Connor's. You can't. It's been done before. Don't act like it has like this, the short-term memory and like that. Like it's so bad just to prove your point and feel justified. Listen, I pay attention to what my child says, because number one, they're focusing more on the future, and that's the future. They don't give a shit about us old jaded fucks anymore. They really don't. Nope. And when my daughter's excited because she's just excited that they are finally, as much as we talked about it, that was putting men and women on an equal playing field. As much as we talked about separate but equal and the things with this and that and the other thing, once women main event WrestleMania, we can finally say that's everything. And I don't know if it's going to be. It should be this year, but I hope it's this year. But this is just another step of listen, just get used to it. And most of the people that were running their mouth about Nia being in the Rumble, brother, Nia would beat the living hell out of them anyway. So it's not even. And back to like Hurricane Helms, put it best. Like, how many times did Lita hit him with a Hurricane Rana? How many, he dropped the hardcore title to Molly Holly at WrestleMania of all places, People back then weren't crying like, oh, this is ridiculous. People appreciated it. People appreciated the campiness of it. Go ahead.
Hey, was Jericho buried when Trish Stratus slapped him in the face at WrestleMania 20?
Listen, Jericho lost to China.
Yeah.
The Intercontinental Championship.
Thank you.
So did Jeff Jarrett. Two, like Jericho, not yet, but Hall of Famers, legends. And all of you behind your keyboards with tiny dick syndrome are going to say that Nia doesn't belong. What Nia Jax just showed was not only does she belong, but we're going to have other females in the men's rumble in the future. And if you want to play do you want to have a man in the women's rumble? Absolutely. Listen, if Velveteen's Dream's gimmick is that, like, right now he's androgynous, you don't really know. Why not? How funny would it have been if R-Truth would have showed up in a number 30 spot in the women's rumble accidentally, like he's in the total wrong rumble. He thinks that, we would have got the biggest kick out of it. It's Tiny Dixon, man. That's why people couldn't appreciate the Nia Jax moment.
It's not only Tiny Dick syndrome, but favoritism syndrome in a lot of ways.
Absolutely. Yes.
I don't think anybody would have a gripe about this, as if we talked about it last week. Becky Lynch coming in and eliminating Baron Corbin.
I agree. I agree 1,000%. I think that there's certain people that if they would have popped up in that Rumble, the crowd, anybody online, because even if it would just eliminate a heel and then like it's people are picking and choosing their arguments. But, and what they don't realize
is heavily pushed. Oh, of course she's going to ruin our spot.
Well, the irony of it is that when they go on Twitter to get on their soapboxes or any social media site, but Twitter seems to be the most vile right now, that and Facebook. Yeah. But by the emotion and the raw reaction that they got out of you for hating it that much, that's still better than saying a man should never hit a woman, like, in an athletic environment like that. You know what I mean? That's almost like saying the best WNBA player and, the best NBA player, they should still be able to play one-on-one. I'm not saying who might win, who might lose, but if 1 year you never know what can happen. This is where we need to stop with, and I'm not saying that, all of a sudden push women in the men's division, men in the women's division, all this kind of shit. I'm not saying that. That's obviously not what they were trying to do. But I think there was a lot of value in what they just did, because in a lot of the side entertainment angles that they do, now they can incorporate women into men's matches, men into women's matches, even more than they already were doing. Right. And I do trust them to do it in the right way. It's done all over the indies. Nobody has a problem with it. As soon as it's done in WWE, people criticize them for it. That's another thing I don't understand, man. So you're right. It's people are absolutely picking and choosing their arguments based on the validation of their feelings.
Hey, it's cherry picking season, folks.
Absolutely. It always is.
Let me say this real quick, because we got our top 5 segment we got to do in a couple seconds here to wrap up this topic. I think the biggest thing that people are missing out on overlooking in this is that it followed through at how Nia Jax lost the Women's Royal Rumble match. Think about it. Becky Lynch
absolutely
laid out Lana to get in before Nia even entered the match, and Becky was the reason why Nia Jax lost the Royal Rumble match.
And you know what, Josh? That's exactly why, when we were talking about which match should go first or whatever, it made so much more sense that they had those matches so quick so that they could save that Nia spot for the very end of the night. And you're absolutely right. That's the story that they were telling. Kudos to WWE, in my opinion, for going through with it. Kudos to the fans that responded the right way to it. If you're that insecure that what do you not watch Wonder Woman then? You just don't go Wonder Woman movies. Fuck it. She ain't an awesome superhero, so ain't no way a woman could ever beat a man. So I'm just not gonna go to see. I'm not going to see that Wonder Woman movie because, God damn it, this is just unbelievable. But Superman fucking is. Give me a break. Stop using wrestling as the scapegoat all the fucking time.
Thank you, man. All right, folks, before we head out for this week's podcast and you get into your big Super Bowl weekend, we got our top 5 segment. We do this seasonally. So after every big 4 or 5 pay-per-view, we come and talk about our thoughts on the top 5 things that stood out from us from matches, performers, shows, angles. The top 5 things that stood out to us as we wrapped up 2018 as we are coming out the heels of the Royal Rumble. So we do this, like I said, after every Big Four show. So we'll be doing this after WrestleMania this year. And we're open to hearing your guys' suggestions as well. Like, what has stood out to you during the fall of 2018 and where we are coming off the Royal Rumble? What has stood out to you over the last 4 to 5 months in professional wrestling? It doesn't have to be from one company. It doesn't have to be a match. It could be to wherever the top 5 things that stood out to you for professional wrestling over the last 3 to 4 months. So, brother, I'll let you start off, actually.
All right, so I'm going to start with number 6. I know it's a top 5, but I got 6, so I'll get 6 and 5 out of the way real quick. Any of you at home that say that I can't do that, bullshit. I'm kind of the co-host on here. I can do whatever the hell I want. So my number 6 is going to be Seth Rollins. Listen, he turned up the heat since, so we're talking Survivor Series until Royal Rumble now. Listen, there was nobody more omnipresent than Seth Rollins when it comes to him and Dean Ambrose. I thought I could easily put Dean Ambrose in here as well. But Rollins, when you just look at the year that he's had, and with the Royal Rumble win, that's actually why I'm putting Rollins in as my number 6, maybe slightly over Ambrose. Even though I feel like Ambrose's character has been amazing over the past, couple months here. And my number 5 is going to be the Reverend Corey Graves, just because I always got to get Corey Graves in here. That's why my list is 6, because so much good has been going on. But God damn it, Corey Graves is always so goddamn good that he's always going to be in my top 5. But so that's not coming in at number 5 this week.
All right, my number 5 is going to be Baron Corbin. Baron Corbin, I think, has been doing some really good, consistent heel work that goes over people's heads each week. And the fact that he's consistently and naturally hated the way he is is something that, as a longtime wrestling fan, that I'm not going to scoff at. I don't care how you think he's uninteresting or he doesn't do interesting moves, like a Finn Balor match or whatever. He's doing his job effectively each week, and it continues to piss you off. So Baron Corbin will be number 5 on my list.
Let me add on to that. And this is how I know that, and I've been giving Corbin praise now for a year. Like, it's, you guys still listen to this and know that. But here's how I know Corbin is, whether or not you guys want to give him credit or not. Here's how I know that he's better off now than where he was as the Lone Wolf. My wife will never admit to be wrong about anything. I'm not saying that I'm very stubborn too. But let's just, put that out there. The other night, she actually was like, you know what, Corbin's actually, like, not that she's, like, growing on her, or, like, she'll never, she was like, I like the whole, like, the character he is now. She's like, her words were, well, I can tolerate him now. I was like, no, you just like the antagonist of, like, sarcastic. She was like, it's a lot better than what he was doing before. Thank you. There you go. There you go. Because it's rare that she changes an opinion with wrestling. So, all right. My number 4 is going to be the new Daniel Bryan. He's all done at number 4 on my list. Now, I absolutely have to tie in the fact that his character work has been great. His ring work has been great. Starting a faction, or at least right now it's a 2-man team, but it looks like we might be breeding into a faction potentially going here. I love the new title. I'm not going to lie. I love it. I love how as soon as Rowan came out with that bag, we were talking about it earlier tonight. He's probably debuted in a championship. Everything, even with the cowhide and everything. So I'm glad he went into that whole tirade or whatever. But I just think that the big thing for me with Daniel Bryan right now that stands out from a lot of other people is the promos and work that he's putting in, not on SmackDown, is really what's really cementing his work as, to me, the top heel in the company. And I say that because, these little YouTube promos he's cutting, or these little WWE exclusives, or they're just as good as promos that are being on Raw, that are being, shown on Raw, SmackDown, pay-per-views, NXT, 205 Live, whatever. And right. you rarely see that anymore, But I think that he's taking a page out of how it was working for Jericho in New Japan. It works for being the elite. It works right now. It's visceral. It's in the moment, and I'm sure WWE is obviously, they know what he's doing. It's not there's some production, obviously some production involved, but I think that's been really, for me at least, it's been such an enjoyable part about the new Daniel Bryan. So that's why he's in my number 4 spot.
My number 4 is going to be Wrestle Kingdom 13.
Ooh.
the pay per view. I thought it was really good. It had some really stellar matches, and having Jericho and Naito was a really big moment, and it was a really big show because it was a lot of the final farewell for a lot of the Bullet Club Elite guys. So number 4 would be Wrestle Kingdom 13 for me.
I got to see a couple of the matches from it on Axis. I dug it. Yeah, I really dug the Omega match. It was awesome. All right, so I'm going to go my number 3, AEW.
Okay.
Listen, love them, hate them, whatever you guys think about them right now, they're very polarizing, and that's what sells. Listen, I'd be a hypocrite if I was sitting here saying that the great part about Roman Reigns is how you either love him or hate him. There's no way. It's an emotion. There's nobody sitting on their hands. You're either cheering or booing. And right now with All Elite Wrestling, I'm kind of getting that vibe that it's either people are completely all in. Excuse the pun.
Yep.
Yeah, I was gonna say excuse the pun. Or they're seemingly it's kind of like oh no, don't go there. They're taking our stars kind of deal. To me, that's exciting because it's showing that wrestling is in such a good place right now that there is potential to have that second North American major company. And that's no disrespect to Ring of Honor. Ring of Honor is a fantastic promotion. It's not like an independent promotion like people make it. Like people label it. It's a fantastic wrestling company. It's still not. There's just something that feels like this could be big. And the way that they've teased it, I think they haven't been giving us too much at once. It's a slow burn. I keep talking about how I think a slow burn is better than kind of blowing your wad all at one time. Don't be too pump chumps. That's all. So I truly, really, really am enjoying what they're doing with AEW. And that's probably because I'm not on social media. So I don't see like the back and forth that, I'm just kind of taking the ride like a fan should, and I'm really enjoying it. So right now I'm putting AEW, and that's everybody. Everyone's involved with the Elite, everyone that was involved with like New Japan, then afterwards with the signings and everything. I just think they're doing all the right things right now, and it's creating a lot of excitement. So AEW number 3.
My number 3 is going to be the in-ring quality and content from SmackDown Live over the last couple of months. From Andrade Cien Almas and Rey Mysterio matches, Mustafa Ali being on the show over the last couple of months as well. AJ Styles, the Mortgage Man. No, I'm kidding. Carmella, Charlotte, Asuka, Becky, the SmackDown Women's Division as a whole. I just think they've been putting out some really good, consistent in-ring content each week for being a 2-hour show. So, and even the tag division, I really enjoyed the Four Corners tag team match they had on SmackDown the other day. I thought that was really good as well. So, SmackDown's in-ring quality and content over the last couple months is my number 3.
I feel that was the rub in the face of the person that fast forwards through matches during the week so we can save them for pay-per-views. But no, I'm totally teasing because that is my thing. There's a lot of matches I skip through just So, and maybe that's it too, man. Maybe it's because pay-per-views might not bother me as much, like how people are so overly critical, because I do save a lot of the matches for the pay-per-view because I don't want to see the same moves over week after week, which is going to be something interesting with All Elite Wrestling is that I don't think there's going to be as much repetition. That's something that it's always been in part of the WWE formula. It's never going to go away. Yeah. It's just that, our favorite moves, our favorite spots, we're fickle because we start to see them all the time because of the, how many shows there are a week. And I think that's why I skip the matches on Raw and SmackDown and just save the matches for pay-per-views. Almost like it was, back in the 80s when I was, a little kid. But my number 2, I can't wait to see the expression on your face with this one.
Okay.
Number 2, Becky Lynch.
All right.
I know, guys. I know. Crazy, right? Just wait for my number 1. That's all. But number 2, listen, right now, you'll see why she's number 2. But Becky Lynch right now to me is the best thing going in wrestling. Why isn't she my number 1? Well, then I guess you're going to have to keep listening. But there's not a negative thing I can say about Becky right now. She's owning the social media game. She's owning the ring work. She's owning mic work. She's owning her character. She's encompassed what the man is. She is the man. I don't know if I even have to plead a case here. I think everyone's kind of in agreement here with this. So other than why is she at number 2, but that's what you'll find out soon.
Right. My number 2 is Ronda Rousey, actually. I think for her to do every single Raw and pay-per-views and house shows over the last couple months of her being the Raw Women's Champion is something that I'm not going to scoff at. I think she does care about what she's doing in the ring.
Absolutely.
She's been putting on some bangers as far as pay-per-view matches are concerned. I really liked the match she had with Sasha the other day at the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, it was good. It was real good.
Ronda Rousey is number 2, and I'm also adding her to the list because she's a hot button topic right now, and the fact that people are talking about her, she's doing her job. So I'm going to go with Ronda Rousey, number 2.
Yep. So it seems like it should be a sure thing that Becky Lynch would be my number 1, but I had her at number 2. So she can't be my number 1. So what would my number 1 be, right? And I've already gone through Becky Lynch, All Elite Wrestling, the new Daniel Bryan, Reverend Corey Graves, because he's fantastic and he should be on every list ever. Seth Rollins, I talked about how Ambrose would probably be an alternate if, you tie him in there. I could keep naming names on people that are having fantastic things, but since Survivor Series until now, at the end of the Royal Rumble, do you know who I think has had the absolute best couple months?
Who?
Wrestling fans. Us. Seriously. Like what I said at the beginning of the show, I'm actually not, whether you realize it or not, if you're on Twitter banging out them keystrokes, man, just thumbs are going. They're doing their job. Even if you're, oh, I hate it so much, I can't wait for AEW. You just build up AEW. Oh, who cares? It's WWE forever. You just build up WWE. Remember, guys, anytime right now, I everybody's opinion about any company aside, the fact, and I'm sorry I'm having so many throat problems today, guys. The fact that there's so many budding scenarios and possibilities is a very refreshing thing for us as fans, and that's why I keep saying, I definitely don't want any of these companies to fail, and especially All Elite Wrestling. I want them to succeed so that not only does it challenge WWE, but they put, then it's gonna step their game up. It's gonna step, right now, guys, the best thing in wrestling is wrestling fans, as much as there's some of you want to complain, a lot of us realize wrestling is in a fantastic place. We are, does it have its faults? Absolutely. Everything we watch, everything we listen to, everything, that's a part of life. And there's no such thing as perfection. There was never a perfect wrestling show. Get over yourselves. Right now, I feel like with all of WWE's developmental systems now within the UK, down at NXT, down in Florida, you still have New Japan Pro, Ring of Honor, still thriving with they got Villain Enterprises kind of turning up a notch a little bit there, so they're still going to keep getting eyes on them. New Japan kind of like put emphasis back on the Japanese wrestlers, that which isn't a bad thing either. Plus, I like what Switchblade is starting to do over there. You got everybody signing with All Elite. You got all this stuff going on in WWE. Who's staying? Who's going? Look at what just happened at the Rumble. You got a couple exciting WrestleMania matches. Guys, it's like when I say we've said for a couple years now it's a great time to be a wrestling fan. The reason why I want to put wrestling fans number 1 right now is because they just announced All Elite Wrestling. It's still fresh. It was in between, and I just really feel like there is a lot of now. Do I think that certain people were taking that excitement to stupid lengths? Absolutely. But there's no denying that as wrestling fans right now, no matter whose camp you're in, there's an exciting buzz around pretty much everything that's out there. And when the industry is like that, when the business is like that, the performers, I keep saying it, but the performers win, these companies win, and most importantly, us as fans win. So my number 1 from Survivor Series until now is wrestling fans. We're number 1, baby, because there's a lot to be happy about. Like when you cut the negativity out, you can see a lot of people on Twitter that are praising, and again, I don't care who you praise. There's a lot out there right now that's being praised, and it couldn't be better.
Right. Going to my number 1, I'm going to relate this to Sam kind of changing her tune on the Baron Corbin character. My number 1 is the new Daniel Bryan, because for me, and this, brother, I was becoming really, really indifferent on Daniel Bryan as a whole.
I was worried you were.
And even to the point where I was like, go ahead, leave the WWE at this point. Like, I was done with the Daniel Bryan character and the Yes movement, but the new Daniel Bryan is my new favorite thing in professional wrestling right now. And just the way his character is with society as a whole right now and how he's doing it in the heel fashion, I can't stop laughing when he cut these promos. I know he believes in this stuff, which is even better, and it adds more to the character. The I was telling Adam before we recorded the show, I felt like the hemp title reveal is like my favorite promo of the year so far. So
It was
the
so
new
good.
Daniel Bryan is my number one thing that happened in professional wrestling in the last 3 to 4 months.
And I just want to put something to add on, to piggyback onto that. How many people could get a crowd, a wrestling crowd, a diehard wrestling crowd that came from all over the world to see the Rumble in a baseball stadium, I'd like to point out, get that SmackDown crowd to chant, recycle, recycle, recycle. Like, really? Really? It's amazing, man. It's and the fact that like people were popping over him throwing a title away, it's just, I think dude, I love the fact, and I'm glad to see, dude. This is, I never, and this is kind of the AJ Styles scenario right now, right? I never had doubts about Daniel Bryan. I was always a Daniel Bryan fan, but it was the fans, like you said, in a way, the fans kind of were starting to ruin Daniel Bryan, because it was that, just like they say WWE forces Roman Reigns down our throat, the fans were forcing Daniel Bryan down our throat, you know? So, and it wasn't anything Bryan was doing. It's just that we had 3 years of the same Daniel Bryan because of the injuries and him having to go talking smack, or the general manager thing, you know, just all that stuff. Where, like I brought up a couple weeks ago, where, you know, you're looking at the same time frame, Seth Rollins had like 3, 4, 5 different monikers, you know. So to see them finally breathe new life into Daniel Bryan, you have to do that sometimes with new. And I love that they're just making sure it's so cheesily blatant. It's just the new Daniel Bryan. That's so great. And it irritates the hell out of Sam, which makes it even better. Like, just because it shows that it's also working on that side of things too, you know? Right. Yeah, man, I love it, man. I think that only certain people, for all of us that said that Daniel Bryan wasn't as good of a mic worker as other people, boy, were we wrong. That's the one thing that I'll admit, that my only ever criticism of Daniel Bryan was that I thought maybe, but that's the case, I think, with a lot of people when they have to cut the babyface promo. And the top babyface promo too. Sometimes it's just, you don't want to be out there all bubbly. Maybe you had a shitty day, and going out there and just unloading on people, just like all of you do on Twitter, is just probably such a release. You know, it was my 5 minutes of fame with a mic in my hand. Trust me, it was fantastic. The 3 lines that I got to shoot out at people. So, you know, I'm sure there is a rush to it, but yeah, man, I think you're dead on with Bryan and everything you said about Daniel Bryan too. We had some good lists this time.
Yeah,
that's some interesting lists. What do you think about wrestling fans right now, man? Do you think that's why I want to put them at number 1? But let me get your opinion on that one. Like, you know, all your feelings about the overindulgence into AEW already by certain fans. I mean, what are your thoughts though right now about how, as a wrestling fan, are we sitting pretty, or am I just looking through rose-colored glasses?
No, I think we're seeing pretty. I mentioned this the other day on Twitter. Like, feel like if you're a kid and you had this amount of wrestling accessible to you, and it's actually good quality wrestling, as opposed to like the 80s where you had like the end of the AWA, and the NWA is starting to come down a little bit and started losing interest, and it was all WWF during that time period, to even like now where you have all these wrestling companies thriving and putting out, like I said, good in-ring content. And again, for those who don't know, I'm more into the wrestling of what's going on in the ring than the storylines at times. That doesn't mean that I don't appreciate characters and storylines. Hell, the new Daniel Bryan is my number 1 because of the character right now, you know? Mm-hmm. But I have my ways to balance out that topic, and I think we're having a lot of good content, but I think a lot of us are taking it for granted too at the same time.
And you know what, man? I look at it this way, and again, you know, I'm going to keep using her as an example because this is ultimately what business is about. So, you know, my daughter actually said to me this week that she wants to start watching NXT more. And I was like, you know, absolutely. Like, you know, when you're a kid, you have that time. Like, I just don't have the time. But like, Liz, you're a kid. Hell yeah. Watch as much wrestling as you want. She legit has a show every night of the week. She's got Raw. She's got SmackDown. She wants to watch NXT. She wants to watch NXT UK. She wants to Keep Up with WoW, the Women of Wrestling on Access, you know. Then add in any pay-per-views or takeovers or what the hell is going on with the global warming or WWE climate change, global fucking takeover, whatever
Worlds collide.
Worlds collide, whatever. Yeah, when worlds collide. Yeah, whatever. It's fucking, that's what I mean. There's stuff coming up that I can't keep up with it. that means wrestling's in a good place. That's it's ultimately. Now, am I saying that all of this is always no? But what I'm saying is that I have a 9-year-old daughter that is keep that in mind. If I would have said this in 1989, let's go 30 years back, even 20 years back to 1999. If anybody out there would have said, yeah, I have a 9-year-old daughter and she watches 5 different wrestling shows a week, it would have been unheard of. Early 2000s, unheard of. Mid 2000s, late 2010, unheard of, dude. So the fact that there was enough, and I get that. Listen, while women's wrestling is absolutely that, it's niche. It's not going to be for everybody, but it's out there, right? And it's backed by Jeannie Buss, the Lakers owner. So I mean, they're going to have money. I'm not trying to make this out to be bigger than it is, guys. But what I'm saying is, it's just another form of wrestling. Like, I can't get Shimmer on a weekly basis. I can't get, So this is my daughter's way of getting her all women's program. Dude, that's what kills me about right now about the fickleness of the wrestling fan.
Fickle.
They don't realize that their angst is only breeding success.
Right. I got a question for you before we head out of here. Who you got on Sunday?
I got the New England Patriots. Yeah, I got to go with the Pats, man. Dude, I can never – especially – is New England – they're not favored? They're underdogs?
Yeah. No, they're favored by 2.5.
Oh, it's Patriots minus 2.5?
Yeah.
Oh, so they're the favorites now. Okay, because I was going to say, if you put the Patriots as underdogs, you're insane. But they started as underdogs, so if things have moved already that much, that tells me that either
the public changed it a lot.
I was going to say that either bets were going all on one pony, or they had to get some things mixed up there. Listen, not for nothing, but the league wants the Los Angeles Rams to win this, so I understand that the Rams are going to get a hell of a lot of calls on Sunday. I know everybody out there thinks that it's about Tom Brady. They get all these calls. I promise you, there's going to be several calls against that either no calls or calls that go in the Rams' favor. Now, that being said, though, I still feel like because nobody is when you don't take the Patriots serious, like last year, it was like, oh, Patriots definitely got this, whatever. It's whatever. They get snuck all the time, right? But it's when people overlook the Patriots that they go in and they win a Super Bowl. So I know people in Pittsburgh don't like this because one man and one player, one quarterback is about to tie the entire Steelers organization. But Tom Brady, if I'm going coach and quarterback, I'm going with experience. I'm going Brady and Belichick over Goff and McVay. So
I know Steelers fans are going to be upset about that, but I got some good news for Saints fans. I think the Patriots are going to blow out the Rams on Sunday. That's my prediction for the Super Bowl coming up on Sunday.
Here's another prediction. This isn't a prediction. It's a spoiler alert. I actually don't know what the record is, so I'm kind of being a little facetious here, but I'm going to say, since everybody has to have their hot take. This is going to be the highest scoring Super Bowl in history.
Okay.
This sets up the future of the NFL. I don't know if you've been catching on to this, guys, but the reason why there's rule changes and scores are higher and there's 1 million quarterbacks that can throw for 40 touchdowns a year now is that there's more money in fantasy football than there is in straight up gambling anymore, man. They're going to appease the fantasy football fan always before they got to line it. The NFL is still a business. That's why all these rules are made so that teams are scoring more points, so the quarterbacks can put more points on the board, receivers, running backs. It's because people play fantasy football to stay interested in the NFL. Otherwise, I'd watch my Raiders and not watch any other game every week. We talked about that before the show. So my prediction is going to be that this is going to be, if it's not the highest, it's going to be one of the highest, scoring Super Bowls ever. And they're going to make sure that it happens that way because that's what sells. It's not strong defenses anymore. People don't want that, especially when you're playing fantasy football. And I know fantasy football seasons are over, but this is the one game where you loop the casual fan back in, right? You tell them this is what we're about going forward, right? And I think the NFL is leaning more towards being an offensive league than a defensive league. The rules dictate it. It's just, it just is what it is, man. You got to change with the times. So that's my prediction. I think it's going to be close. But I'll go like, I don't know, man. I'll go like 40. I'm going to say 41-38. 41-38 New England. So I don't know where that puts it scoring wise, but that's my score.
I got 31-17 Patriots over the Rams coming up on Sunday. we hit a lot today, from lower thirds of whether or not Tom Brady is a cheater or not, to tiny dick syndrome.
Yeah, it's an epidemic, man. It's bad.
You said that
Feel
Super
bad
Bowl
for
Sunday
people.
will have the highest score ever. I'm gonna keep on hoping that this is the largest listened to edition of the Hoots podcast. We had a lot of fun today. It was a lot of fun. We had a lot of ground today, a lot of interesting topics. We hope that you enjoyed our show today. You can do that by subscribing to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify. The podcast is available on 10 different platforms now,
Wow.
which is insane.
We're everywhere. Are we on Clomper? I need us to be on Clomper.
I gotta look into that. I
gotta be on Clomper with Turd Journey. Turd Journey, man. It's not what you think. I mean, it is, but it's not.
Yeah. Make sure to bookmark ProWrestlingTranscriptions.com if you want to check out my wrestling play-by-play articles. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at The Hoots Podcast and at AdamDaily13 on Instagram. Make sure to leave us an honest rating and review on Apple Podcasts. Help expand the reach of this show. We're up for nomination for the 2019 Wrestling Radio Awards. So we got a lot of cool things coming up. It's WrestleMania season. We're on the road, brother. I'm excited. It's a good time to be a wrestling fan, like we mentioned in this top 5 list. It was a really fun show today, so we hope you guys enjoyed it as much as we had recording the show today. So for the Clown Prince, I am Joshie Lopez. Thank you guys so much for checking out episode 141 of the Hoots Podcast. Enjoy the Super Bowl. Don't be stupid, and we'll talk to you guys next week.